Okay, very good evening to all of you. Namaskar. Again, thank you very much for joining us for this special media briefing on the ongoing Operation Ganga to evacuate our citizens from Ukraine. And let me just update you on what we have for it's almost a daily briefing now, so since yesterday what we have. And then I'll take a few questions. Let me start with the overall numbers, as always, that we do. The total number of Indians who have left Ukraine, as per our assessment, since our advisories were issued, is now over 20,000. Okay. I do want to mention that, as you know, right in the beginning, we had registration of nearly to 20,000. So clearly, as we discussed yesterday, there are more people than registered. So it's natural, and we will continue, obviously, to bring them and help them also to get out. But it's a very reassuring feeling to see that 20,000 people have now left Ukrainian borders. I will come to what we think are the remaining numbers still there, but that's later. On the flights, I just saw the Civil Aviation Ministry has put out some flight details, but from our perspective, sometimes the timing is slightly, they use a different cutoff. Now, as per our understanding, during the last 24 hours, 18 flights have landed in India, with around 4,000 Indians on board. So if you add that, the total number of flights, therefore, that have landed have been 48. And it has brought back, as per our numbers, somewhere in the 10,400, 10,300, 10,400 numbers. We could be a little up and down. My number is 10,344. But look, if one flight, I saw the civil aviation count is 10,800. It could be a couple of flights. They're looking at different. So let me repeat again, 48 flights, 10,344 Indians.
How many flights?
48.
In the last 24 hours?
No. Akhilesh, you've been coming every day. So as I said last time, yesterday was 30 flights and 18 we had promised. 18 flights have happened, and we are now at 10,344 over 48 flights. These are people, let me clarify. These are people who have left Europe, are actually in India, because all these flights have actually landed. And of course, the 20,000, over 20,000 is the number that have left Ukraine, but they haven't left. All of them haven't left, obviously. 44. That's the number I seem to have. But look, again, which flight you count and exactly how many. But let's say in that ballpark number is. Moving on to the future, the next 24 hours, that's what we look at. As per our list, 16 flights have been scheduled for the next 24 hours. Of these, 4 would be Indian Air Force C-17 aircrafts flights. 1 each to Bucharest, Reseso, Bratislava. In fact, Bratislava is a new destination, airport that we're using in Slovak Republic.
How many Air Force flights is that?
4. Sorry, maybe 4 Air Force flights. As I said, 1 each to Bucharest, Reseso, Bratislava, and Warsaw. Okay. In terms of
And these are C-17.
these are C-17s. So if you look at the total number of 16 flights, we will have 5 flights in terms of destinations or departure points. There will be 5 flights from Budapest, 4 from Suceava. That is turning out to be a very good option. Yesterday we did 1 flight, and now 4 flights we're doing from Suceava in Romania. 3 from Reseso in Poland, and 1 each from Kosice in Slovakia, Warsaw, Bucharest, and Bratislava that I mentioned, the Indian Air Force flight C-17 is going. So Bratislava is a new element. So as you can see, we're trying to use as many airports nearby as we can, and all forms of flights, whether it be Air Force C-17s. So if you count these 16 flights that we are planning over the next 24 hours, with that will take it to what? 64 flights by tomorrow around the same time. We think with this, the vast majority of Indians who have crossed over from Ukraine would have returned back to India. Right now, there is a group waiting on the ground, but with these 16 flights that we have, which are almost all of them are airborne right now, are going to pick up people and come back. Once they come back, I think the vast majority of Indians who have crossed over from Ukraine would have returned back to India by tomorrow around this time. There will be some more left. We will continue to schedule flights, not only to bring those people back who have already crossed over, but also those who will or who are yet to cross over from Ukraine itself right now. So I just wanted to assure people who think the flights are ending, no, flights will continue till we manage to get the everybody out who can leave Ukraine. Moving on to what's happening on the ground, let me focus attention on Kharkiv and Sumy, which have been obviously of interest. Western side, I'm happy, and I'll come to that in a minute. I think it's improved and it's quite normalized. So our highest attention is on this eastern area, particularly Kharkiv. More than even Kharkiv right now, actually in a place called Pisochin, as you know, people came out of there day before yesterday evening. I'm happy to share that we have managed to get some buses there because this is a place, it's a small village there. I think we managed to get 5 buses already. Yesterday, I think 2 buses left, taking them to Lviv. Today, 3 buses have left. I think they're trying to reach the Moldovan border. We're looking at whatever ways to get them out into a safe zone. We're looking at more buses as we can. I think a couple of more buses should happen later in the evening, tomorrow. So I think that process has begun. I have seen messages from many people who are stuck there saying, look, I wanted to assure them that we are aware that they are there. We are monitoring the situation and we are trying our best. See how fast you can get your way safely in an organized manner. I know they've taken a lot of risk, come out of Kharkiv. They're in a safe zone, but we now need to bring. I'll come to questions. 10,000. I didn't say 1,000. I will come back to it. I'll come back to it. No. 2 buses. 2 bus loads left yesterday from Pisochin to Lviv. And then another 3 bus loads left today, already left. We are hoping more bus loads either tonight, tomorrow. So we are looking at. As I said, the other 3 buses are probably going to go to the Moldova border. Look, they're looking at whatever is easier, whatever the bus guide takes you, bus drivers and the organization, wherever they can take you. Some can go to the border, some have restrictions on their movement. So I personally, we'll be looking at it. Moldova is a closer route, and that route is working well. So maybe that's the easier option, but that depends on the situation on the ground and the people who take the decisions. I just wanted to emphasize that we will continue this process with the buses as we can get it. Please do remember, this is the conflict zone. Many of the buses are utilized by the army, by other authorities. So whatever we can get, there are shortages of drivers, petrol, whatever. But we will try this. We had requested also the Ukrainian authorities for special trains out of some nearby places, but I haven't heard anything particular. So in the meantime, let's see how many we can get out by buses. I think there's hope today that we are, with the buses now available. We will try to get in more. Of course, we also remain concerned about Sumy. I know there is a lot of interest there. Just to give you some numbers, I think we were getting some queries. I know you will ask, so let me share with the number upfront. We had about 900 odd people, I think, in Pisochin, between 900 and 1,000, or that number exact. 2 bus loads have gone, another 3 have gone. So we will share with you a number better once, maybe tomorrow sometime. But each bus is about 40 odd people, so just keep that in mind. Our estimate is we have about 300 people left in Kharkiv, but we are waiting. Your advisory went out yesterday for everybody in Kharkiv to register themselves again with the embassy. We are trying to collate that and see how many people are there. But a broad estimate would be 300. It could be less because some people did come out. Moving on to Sumy, I think Sumy, we have about 700 plus. I think that's the number we are looking at, maybe a little higher students there. We are looking at all options or various options, whatever we can do. We are exploring options. But look, the conflict situation there and the fact that some of the contact points in terms of the 2 sides is posing significant obstacles in moving students out of the city. And that is the reason that we have not been able to do what we have been able to do in Pisochin. Pisochin is relatively a safer place. Nevertheless, we remain engaged with all concerned to see whatever we can do at the earliest. Ideally, of course, we would need to have some degree of a local ceasefire or something of that kind to get them. Sorry, do remember, if you say this, it doesn't come on the record. So why don't I come back to you with the microphone? Yeah, I'll come back to you. And I finally, on the western borders, I think things are quite smooth. You don't see much of, there are sporadic, there are people moving from the east to west even now. But I think, look, 20 plus have come out, 20,000 plus. So there aren't that many now crowding the western borders. But still, we are trying to assist whoever is there. On the humanitarian assistance to Ukraine, we have already sent 4 tranches, as you know. Today, 3 tranches are to go. I think 2 have left. I think the third is going in half an hour, will take off. These 3 are on Indian Air Force C-17 planes that I mentioned that are going out. There are, the first one carried, the first IAA flight carried 6 tons of material to Romania today morning. The second carried 9 tons of material to Slovakia. And the third flight, which will go to Poland, is expected to carry another 8 tons of relief material. So as you can see, we have been stepping up our relief material. It is going to these countries and to Ukrainian people. And yes, you would like me to repeat, I'll come back to it. And this, of course, consists of medicines, medical equipment, and other relief material. And finally, everybody keeps on asking me how active is the control rooms. They are quite active, but yes, some intensity of calls have come down, obviously. Just to give you an overall figure, around 11,500 calls have been responded to, attended to by our control room in Delhi, and about 9,000 emails, I would say, broadly. I heard something about query about repeating some of the figures. Indian Air Force flight, 6 tons to Romania. The second Indian Air Force C-17 carried 9 tons to Slovakia. And the third one, which is to take off in about half an hour, will carry 8 tons to Poland. Okay, I think that's a good sense of where we are. I'm sure you have more detailed questions, and I'm happy to take that. Okay, today was very quick. Okay, I'll start with you, please. Again, for the record, please introduce yourself.
Sir, Shailendra from News 18. आपने अभी सुमी के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन दी. आपने इसका जिक्र किया कि वहाँ पर टेम्पररी सीज फायर को लेके ऑप्शन हमारे पास है. जैसा आपने अभी मेंशन किया कि सीज फायर
मैंने बताइए.
तो क्या सीज फायर को लेके, क्योंकि कल शाम को भी हमने देखा कि यूक्रेन रशिया के बीच में बात हुई है और एक ह्यूमैनिटेरियन कॉरिडोर की बात की गई है, और हमारी ये भी एक रिपोर्ट आई है कि 130 बसेस इंतजार कर रही हैं रशिया में ताकि वो खार्किव और सुमे से लोगों को निकाल सके. तो उसमें थोड़ा स्पेसिफिक बता सके आप.
So Siddhant from Beyond, there are desperate calls coming when it comes to Sumy from the students. What are the options on the table for the Indian government to extract these people out because the food is limited, there is no water. So what are the options you're looking at?
Okay. This side, yeah, please. I'll come back to you. You also have.
This is Yeshi from the New Indian Express. I'd like to know, there have been instances of Ukrainians probably attacking Indians, like this boy Harjot who got attacked yesterday with gunshot wounds. And I've also heard personally from people that, when they were trying to board the train and they were dissuaded and there was a trigger on the head literally. So is the Indian government doing anything to reach out to the Ukrainian authorities to ensure safety of our students? Thank you.
Who had a hand up? No, before that, Sudhi, please. I'll come back.
Sir, Shruti Ranjan from the Bloomberg, sir. The Defense Expo has been cancelled all of a sudden. Can you give us an understanding why, or a confirmation or a denial whether Russia, expressed its inability to come because of the situation, or any other country would have told us that they will not be able to attend?
Yeah, you.
सर मैं कविता हूँ हरिभूमि न्यूज़पेपर से. सर मैं 2 क्लैरिफिकेशन आपको मुझे पूछने हैं. सर एक तो ये कि जो रशियन बॉर्डर से जो भारतीयों को निकालने की बात है, क्या उसमें C-17 के जगह पे भारतीय वायुसेना का IL-76 जो रशियन ओरिजिन एयरक्राफ्ट है, ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट, उसका प्रयोग किया जाएगा? और दूसरा, सुधी के सवाल से मेरा सवाल जुड़ा हुआ है. जो सुधी कह रहे हैं कि डिफेंस एक्सपो को कैंसिल किया गया है, तो इसके पीछे क्या मतलब, जो हमारी जो UN में लगातार हम जो तटस्थ नीति अपना रहे हैं, बार बार जो हम रशिया के खिलाफ वोट नहीं कर रहे हैं, क्या उसको लेकर के अमेरिकन और EU कंट्रीज का कुछ प्रेशर है? हमारी जो पॉलिसी है, फॉरेन पॉलिसी, वो तटस्थ रहने की है इस मामले पर, या कुछ और इसमें बदलाव देखने को मिल सकता है? थैंक यू सर.
Okay, let me take these round of questions and I'll take another. शैलेंद्र जी, आप लोगों ने कुछ क्वेश्चंस एक साथ लिंक्ड हैं, तो मैं कोशिश करूंगा उस तरह से आंसर करने के लिए. देखिए, आपने सीज फायर से शुरू करता हूं. मैंने नहीं कहा कि सीज फायर है, मैं कह रहा हूं सीज फायर के बिना मुश्किल लग रहा है, क्योंकि वहां पे अभी शेलिंग चल रही है. यहाँ पे कांटेक्ट है. जब कांटेक्ट कह रहा हूं, दोनों आर्मियों के बीच में वो डिवाइडिंग लाइन है, तो कांटेक्ट पॉइंट्स अगर होते हैं तो दिक्कत हो जाती है. तो हम अगर सीज फायर रहे, हम नहीं चाहते कि हमारे स्टूडेंट्स ऐसी जगह से क्रॉस करें जहां पे उनके कोई रिस्क आए, वॉर जोन में आपको मालूम नहीं कुछ भी हो सकता है, इसीलिए हम हमेशा अपने स्टूडेंट्स के ऐसे चाहेंगे ऐसा कोई सेफ रूट निकले, तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो मुझे सीज फायर के बारे में हमारी गुजारिश ये रहेगी कि दोनों पक्षों को हम कह चुके हैं पब्लिकली कि कोई सीज फायर हो, लोकल सीज फायर हो, ताकि हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को निकाल सके। ये तो हम दोनों साइड को कह रहे हैं। आई वॉज गिवन अ क्वेश्चन रिगार्डिंग द बसेस, दैट वॉज आई थिंक two people asked, no? Something about buses. Let me answer about the buses. Look, there are these stories going around, media reports. I think also something from the Russian side that there are some buses ready, some 130 buses. One of you mentioned. We've seen those. I mean, we are also aware of it. But let me emphasize and make a larger point. What I understand is that these buses are actually. Let me figure out. I have some data here on this one. I think. These buses are actually 50-60 kilometers away from where the students are. They're frankly too far away, for them to just walk and take it. This is a conflict zone, and we don't see a safe and secure way to reach them. In fact, I would appeal and urge the parties concerned to have a local ceasefire at least, so that we can, go to those buses if that is the suggested route. Because otherwise, having the bus is a good step, but it's just just one step. The key step is not there, which is how do we get the students from where they are, which is in some relative safety, because I know they're suffering because of lack of food and water. I understand that the reports we have seen, I must confess, but we are in touch with them. They are conveying some difficulties. It's a good step, as I said. But the most difficult step is actually taking them from that through a conflict zone to the buses. And I think we must understand this. I know it looks very easy, there are buses ready, why aren't we taking them? Because they're 50 to 60 kilometers away. This is not about me just walking out and going to a bus. Who will, ideally if the Russian side could come in there, or if the Ukrainian side could organize buses, because this is a conflict zone, it's very difficult to organize. We are still in touch with all sides, so let's see what we can do. That is an option always. But there could be other options. I mean, look, if there is a ceasefire, we could just bring them out to the west. So there is no hard and fast. Our primary focus remains about getting them out in a safe and secure manner. So I think on the issue of the buses and Russian buses, I think we need to see the full picture on it. I think sometimes when you see on social media, you don't get the full picture. They are pretty far away. And I don't see any report saying that this is the way the students need to go there. But nevertheless, we are trying that. I think Siddhant, you were asking about Sumy. Same problem. I understand there's a shortage. We are in touch with the authorities there. We are in touch with local authorities. We're in touch with the university there, with the students directly. Also the student coordinators. I must commend the role of the student coordinators across Ukraine, who have been really instrumental in making sure they have been our representatives on the ground, and it's been very helpful. So we are trying our best. But we also have to acknowledge this is a conflict zone, live conflict zone, where people are, unfortunately, as you know, one of our own citizens has lost his life. So there is an issue on that. I think there was a Kavita ji, आप पूछ रहे थे about ये Russian border से अगर निकालें तो IL-76 जाएगी. देखिए मैं कह नहीं सकता हूँ. IL-76 ऑप्शन है, अच्छा ऑप्शन है हमारे पास. पहले हमें क्लियर होना पड़ेगा कि किस तरह से हम स्टूडेंट्स को वहाँ ले जाए. वो IL-76 आप जैसे जानते हैं उस एरिया में तो नो टाइम लगा हुआ है, मतलब वो आप कोई फ्लाइट नहीं चल सकता है. रशियन साइड पे भी, पूरे यूक्रेन में तो है ही, कोई फ्लाइट नहीं चल सकता, पर सिविलियन फ्लाइट उस तरफ भी नहीं. मिलिट्री फ्लाइट ले आ सकते हैं, पर उसमें अप्रूवल्स चाहिए होती हैं. पर एक बार रशियन साइड में चले गए, फिर फ्लाइट का आप चिंता ना करें, वो निकाल लेंगे. वो तो आसान है, वहाँ से तो किसी भी रूट से ला सकते हैं. सुधी, यू रेज द इशू ऑफ डिफेंस एक्सपो. आपने भी डिफेंस एक्सपो का जिक्र किया. Look, I don't think I'm the right person to respond. This organized completely by the Ministry of Defense, and I would request you to just ask them. I also saw the report today, so I apologize. I am not the right person to comment on this. Yashi, you mentioned about Shri Harjot Singh. Look, we are aware of the case. Obviously, our embassy is in close touch with them. He is currently in, I think, hospital in Kyiv. We're not sure exactly where. We are trying to ascertain, as I said, his exact medical status, including his readiness to be able to move. I understand he's some injured. I'm happy to share that the government of India will be sharing the medical costs of his treatment. And but we should also be realistic that this is somewhere this is violence and conflict is happening in that place. We are trying to see if embassy representatives could go, but it's not so easy re-entering the city. So we do have those constraints. But as I said, we are in touch with them, and we hope him and others who may just have been left behind somewhere, we are able to get out safely at the appropriate time. For the moment, I think he's safe. He's in hospital. He's been looked after, and priority is to get his medical attention that he requires. So we're trying to get some more details on that. जी जरूर एक सेकंड आई हैवंट ओपन द फ्लोर हाँ नहीं रुकिए दूसरा क्वेश्चन अभी नहीं आपने पूछा आप हाँ किसके बारे में जी हमने ये कहाँ कहा है यूएनएससी में देखिए आप ये बहुत सेंसिटिव और इम्पोर्टेंट मामला है इसमें मैं ऐसे हमने जो रेजोल्यूशंस आई हैं यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल या यूएन जनरल असेंबली में या यूएन ह्यूमन राइट्स काउंसिल में या फिर इंडिया एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी में हम उसमें क्या है उस रेजोल्यूशन के बेसिस पे हम डिसीजन लेते हैं तो ऐसा कहना कि हमारा ये न्यूट्रल है और हम इधर ये तो आप हो सकता है मीडिया में आप आराम से कह सकें पर ये हम डिपेंड करता है रेजोल्यूशन कैसा है और पूरे टोटलिटी ऑफ सर्कमस्टांस देख के फिर हम अपना डिसीजन वोट लेते हैं तो इस बारे में काफ़ी चर्चा हो चुकी है फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी ने बताया 2 बार आई थी तो इसमें मुझे और एडिशनल कुछ कहना नहीं है आप जानते ही हमारे पोजीशन हमने एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ वोट भी दे रखा है हर बार आप हिंदी में क्या चाहते थे हाँ हरजोत सिंह जी के बारे में जैसे मैंने कहा हमारी एम्बेसी उनके कांटेक्ट में है और वो अभी कोई हॉस्पिटल में है कि हम खबर करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं एग्जैक्टली स्थिति कैसी है कहाँ पे है उनको हिलाया जा सकता है या नहीं हमारी एम्बेसी टीम भी वहाँ जाने की थोड़ी कोशिश कर रही है जो अभी बाहर है कीव के पर वहाँ भी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन में थोड़ी दिक्कत होती है पता नहीं जा पाएंगे या नहीं और तब तक हम जो उनके ट्रीटमेंट के बारे में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया पूरा खर्चा लेगी उसका और अभी सबसे ज़्यादा हमारा प्रायोरिटी है कि उनको पूरी मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट मिले जो ज़रूरी है फिर देखते हैं अभी वो हॉस्पिटल में है अभी सेफ है ओके आई ओपन द फ्लोर फॉर द नेक्स्ट राउंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वन बाय वन आई डिडंट रियलाइज मैम यू हैड आस्क्ड लास्ट टाइम गो अहेड यू आल्सो
सर मैं विजयलक्ष्मी हूँ इंडिया टीवी से हालांकि आपने अंग्रेजी में जवाब दिया है लेकिन हिंदी में भी चाहूंगी आप रिपीट कर दे जो
कौन सा
130 बसें जो रशिया की तरफ से कहा गया है उनके नेशनल डिफेंस कंट्रोल सेंटर के हेड हैं
जी मैं मानूं जी समझ
जनरल मिखाइल
आप उसको हिंदी में
बसेस का क्या है क्योंकि इन्होंने कहा है कि वहां पर लाने के बाद वो
मैंने जवाब दे दिया आपको हिंदी में दे दूंगा रूपांतरण चिंता न करें एक मिनट नीरज जी आप पिछले बार भी हाथ उठाया था आपने
सर खारकीव से 300 लोगों को जो निकाला गया है जो अपडेट दिया है अभी थोड़ी देर पहले आपने
ये नहीं कहा था मैंने पर मैं करेक्ट पोजीशन दूंगा बताइए आपका प्रश्न क्या था
ठीक है मुझे लगा कि वो लोग निकल चुके हैं कहाँ गए हैं ये सवाल था दूसरा सवाल ये है कि रूस में बसें भेज दी हैं सूमी में तो संघर्ष विराम अभी है नहीं खारकीव से क्यों दिक्कत हो रही है कि आप वेस्टर्न पार्ट में भेज रहे हो उधर जाने में कोऑर्डिनेशन में कहाँ गड़बड़ हो रही है रूस साथ नहीं दे रहा है या यूक्रेन के लोग कोऑर्डिनेट नहीं कर रहे हैं क्योंकि वो तो बहुत नजदीक है खारकीव में
जी lots of questions no he raised नहीं आपकी आवाज नहीं आएगी माइक्रोफोन
रशियन मीडिया के अनुसार 5 जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं इंडियन वो गन शॉट में इंजर्ड हुए हैं और करीब 11 ऐसे हैं जो अननोन हैं उनको भी इंजरी हुई है तो ऐसी कोई सूचना है
5 आपने कहा
11 हाँ 5 जो हैं वो इंजर्ड हैं और 11 अननोन हैं
अननोन का क्या मतलब
वहाँ पे वो मौजूद थे उनको चोट लगी है लेकिन उसके बारे में
कोई स्पेसिफिक इंसिडेंट की जिक्र कर रहे हैं
वो रेलवे स्टेशन के पास
कौन से और रेलवे स्टेशन
ये खारकोव में रेलवे स्टेशन के पास कुछ घटना घटी है
अभी
कल उसमें 5
समझा मैं ठीक है आई विल कम बैक टू यू श्रिंजा आई कम बैक
Before I ask the question, just to clarification, you said this before. How many Indians still in Kharkiv? How many Indians still in Sumy? And those buses that took people from towards the west, to Lviv and towards Moldova, they are presumably Ukrainian buses. right? Now, so as far as the question is concerned, this you have spoken about arrangements for moving people through the east. Where does it stand now? Because there's already talk of 2 IL-76 planes, but this process of moving people towards the east,
Yeah.
how is it? Where does it stand now?
Related? You already asked right now, no? Okay, sorry, my mistake today.
So, Meghna Dev from DD News. I have a related question to Shinjoy sir's question. How many people do we estimate are still at the borders, waiting for transit or to cross the borders? And are there also how many people in Lviv?
At Lviv? Okay, I'll take you on then last. I think we'll just wrap it up in this round.
So, Polemy from India Today. My question is about these humanitarian corridors that both Russia and Ukraine keep talking about. Yesterday, they mentioned that after the second round of talks, that is the only thing that they agreed upon, about setting up humanitarian corridors. So what have you learned about that? Are they going to do it? Are they in the process of doing it?
Sorry, yours. Hold on. Are there too many questions left? No, I mean, then let me do one thing. Let me take this round. I'll come back because I think there's already a lot of questions. Look, पहले तो आपके विजय लक्ष्मी जी देखिए, ये रूस के बस के संदर्भ में बहुत सारे प्रश्न हैं. मैं फिर से बताता हूं. ये बताया जा रहा है कि 103 बसें हैं, जो हमने रिपोर्ट भी देखी उनके सरकार की तरफ से या मोस्टली सोशल मीडिया वगैरह से. देखिए, ये बसें बहुत दूर हैं. मैं सिर्फ सुमी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं खार्किव की भी बात कर रहा हूं, जहां पे वो कह रहे हैं बसें हैं खार्किव के पास, वो भी 40-50 किलोमीटर दूर है, इस तरह से कुछ माना जा रहा है. एग्जैक्ट किलोमीटर तो नहीं मालूम, पर ये क्लियर है कि उसमें जहां है वहां नहीं जा सकते, वहां कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन है. हमारे बच्चे कैसे जाएंगे, कौन उसका ऑर्गेनाइज कर पाएगा वहां पे इस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन में. अगर रूसी साइड से कर पाए, वहां कोई सीज फायर लोकल करें तो कुछ बात बन पाएगी, नहीं तो हम उसको लगता है यही पास है, पर ऐसा नहीं है. ये एक दिक्कत है. इसीलिए जो रूसी बसों की बात हो रही है, मेरा यही रिस्पॉन्स रहेगा कि वो बसें बहुत दूर हैं, उससे फायदा नहीं हो रहा है. हमें कुछ चाहिए एक सिस्टम कि वो बसें या तो आ जाए स्टूडेंट्स के आसपास कहीं, या कोई और तरीका रहे ताकि ये यूक्रेनियन बसें तो वहां जा नहीं सकती और ना रूसी बसें आ रही हैं, तो इस चक्कर में अटक रहा है. that goes into what Shinjoy was mentioning. The eastern route, that is the primary problem. We are, as always, we have multiple contingency plans. IL-76 that you mentioned or other aircraft, all are on readiness. Our core problem remains, how do we get the students from where they are to the buses, which are reasonably far away, without security, safety, and transport infrastructure? I think that's the core problem. So plans are there. This is the core issue. A ceasefire, local ceasefire, alternative, we've been asking both sides, alternatively some mechanism under which either of the sides could organize transport to the buses or any other way. As I said, we will take the easiest option out of that. नीरज जी, आपने पूछा था खार्किव में कितने हैं? हो गया. अब दूसरा, तीसरा, चौथा क्वेश्चन बताइए. बताइए माइक्रोफोन पे, नहीं तो सुनाई नहीं देगा.
यूक्रेन और रशिया में कौन सा देश है जो सहयोग नहीं कर रहा है कि आप ईस्टर्न पार्ट में ले जा सके भारतीय छात्रों को?
देखिए, मैं समझ गया. देखिए, आपके जो पहला प्रश्न भी यही था कि आप उसको पश्चिम की तरफ क्यों जा रहे हैं, पूर्व की तरफ क्यों नहीं जा रहे हैं. मैंने फिर से दोहराने दीजिए, वो लगता पेपर में बहुत पास है 50 किलोमीटर, पर अगर वहीं युद्ध हो रहा है तो आप उधर तो नहीं ले जाएंगे ना खतरे की तरफ. आपकी रही इस बात में कि कौन कोऑपरेट नहीं कर रहा है, ये कोऑपरेशन की बात नहीं है. हम दोनों तरफ से कह रहे हैं कि अगर आप युद्ध विराम दें या बसें भेजें, दोनों तरफ से एक ही जवाब है कि वहां पे हमारी बसें आसपास हैं या इस तरफ ट्रेन है या बस है. पर युद्ध क्षेत्र में अगर फंसे हो तो अब मैं किस साइड को कहूं. हम तो चाहेंगे कि दोनों तरफ को हम कह रहे हैं, आप इस तरह से कोई तरीका निकालिए ताकि हमारे बच्चे बाहर निकल सकते हैं. रविकांत जी, आपने पूछा था कि 5 स्टूडेंट इंजर्ड हो गए खार्किव में, कोई लापता है, कुछ बाकी समथिंग ऐसा कुछ. किसकी? देखिए, आप हर बार रशियन मिनिस्ट्री डिफेंस से मैं क्या, हमारे पास ऐसी कोई जानकारी नहीं है. आप पर्टिकुलरली अगर अभी हुई तो मैं कहता कि चेक करूंगा. अगर कल हुआ है तो अभी हमारे पास कोई ऐसी खबर नहीं आई कि वहां पे इंडियन कोई इंजर्ड हुआ है, कुछ ऐसा अटैक है. हमारे कोई स्टूडेंट्स वहां है भी, ऐसे भी मुझे कोई इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, सच बात हो. हमारे अनुमान से कोई 300 करीब हैं, पर वो स्टेशन में कितने थे या अटैक में ऐसी कोई खबर आई नहीं है हमारे पास. तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा. Shinjoy, you asked how many, I mean, the other part of your question was how many in Kharkiv, how many in Sumy. Let me repeat what I started. Our estimate is Kharkiv town or city would have around 300. Okay? Sumy, something 700 plus. And Pisochin, we started off with around 900, 800 something, 900 around. 5 busloads have left. More buses are expected. I will share with you update once we have a better fix on how many are left. Okay? Look, let me see how big the buses are. We estimate about 40 in a bus, 40 to 50. But let me not guess here. Meghna, you mentioned about how many at the border and at Lviv. Look, we don't have a tracking system on each person. So my understanding is not too many at the. I would say probably less than 1,000 overall in the country, other than the east who are stuck, and this Pisochin, leaving aside Pisochin, Kharkiv and Sumy. Maybe around 1,000 or so who would want to, maybe less, because look, 20,000 plus have crossed over. It doesn't matter. We don't see the kind of pressure at the border. Those who want to go, our embassy is assisting. I don't think people are just waiting in Lviv, because I think the Polish border is reasonably open and the people are crossing, or through the other borders. And finally, Palomi, you asked about this humanitarian corridor that the talks yesterday between Russia and Ukraine, we also saw the reports. I must confess, we haven't seen anything further to that in terms of implementation of the same on the ground. We, of course, are closely and eagerly monitoring that. If that happens, it will certainly help our process. And we've been asking both sides of cessation of hostilities, ceasefire, local ceasefire, whatever works to get our people out of conflict zones. Okay, my final round of questions, if there are no. Second rounds later. There was somebody who had, you had a first round of questions. Yeah.
Sir, Saurabh from ANI. So, from the day one, there was 20,000 people are Indian nationals are in Ukraine, and you said around 20,000 have crossed the border. So, should we consider we are towards the downward, or soon the Operation Ganga will be ending, or it will continue for more?
Okay. Okay. I see. Anybody else has anything additional to say? Okay, Siddhant.
We have seen a lot of videos of the students from Sumy. They're stuck in snow and they have been pleading. What the government is doing to reach out to these students in terms of food and water?
You asked the same question.
That time was how what
okay,
things on the
fair
table
enough.
For the evacuation.
Microphone here.
First question.
Second one.
No, this is first question.
Okay, sorry. My apologies. I thought you had asked.
Sir, I'm Akhilesh Suman from Sunset TV. Yesterday there was a meeting of Quad leaders in the Quad. Other than that statement that you had, sent to us, did India argue or did India talk with those friendly countries about finding any negotiated settlement between Ukraine and Russia? Or other than that, are we trying anyhow to find a solution of this?
Okay.
And have you heard about any hostage again? Some people are telling that there are again some reports of hostage near Kharkiv or PCG.
Somebody had a hand up last round. Yes, please, ma'am. Yeshi, tell me.
Yeshi from New Indian Express. I'd like to know, I've read that there are reports that some Nepalese students have urged help for evacuation. Are there any other students from other nationalities who sought help, and are you getting them, evacuating them?
Okay, let me close with this set of questions. Saurabh, you raised this question of numbers. If you remember what I said yesterday, and I'll repeat it today, and I said it, I think, in the opening remarks, we had something like 19,700 or 800 registrations with the embassy. Now, as it always happens, not everybody registers despite our requests. Clearly, the same situation has arisen here. Yesterday, I mentioned that we were nearing 19,000. Today, we are over, 18,000 something. Today, we are over 20,000. Clearly shows there are people who wouldn't have registered. I don't think that's a marker of Operation Ganga ending. I mentioned during my opening remarks that we will continue to run this till we get the last person out. We will, as I said, yes, in our counting, what people have registered are effectively out of. But obviously, we know there are at least 2,000, maybe a little more, because if you just add up the numbers that I have mentioned, 2,000 to 3,000 people perhaps still there. I don't know. This is a pure guess now, because we will see when they come out. We'll wait for that. We'll try to help them and bring them out. So I think that takes care of what you were saying. Akhilesh, I'll answer your, before that. Siddhant, you asked about what can we do directly. Look, let me start with again what I'm saying. It is a conflict zone. You can't send in people. We are coordinating through the university. We are trying to do it to the student coordinators. And I must commend I think this is a comment that we should make generally, and particularly for the students of Sumy. Commend the student community for coming together, being extremely supportive of each other, having, keeping their, spirits high, and really trying to find a solution in very difficult and adverse conditions. I just want to tell them, we are with you. We are trying to find a, solution, something to get you out of there. Till then, hold on and stay safe. They're probably better where they are than walking around in places where there's violence. So, yes, there are difficulties. We are trying to see whatever we can do on that. Yeshi, I think you asked about other citizens. Look, we have received some. Let me go back to what we said here earlier. We said that, look, if we are always willing to help other countries, and I think Prime Minister mentioned about helping developing world and our neighbors. And if a specific request on the ground comes, our approach will be guided by that. We have received some requests. Some of it is in general, and they've taken their own flights and own arrangement, but a couple of places there have been specific requests. I just did a round of phoning before I came in. I think we have had one Bangladeshi national who came in. I think there was perhaps a Nepalese citizen, but I have a feeling there'll be more, because I know there've been some requests and they are trying to be put in the flights. Of course, Indian citizens also need to be there, but I know at least one Bangladeshi citizen has come, and I will have to check on the others what they are. There are some other requests that have come, and I think we will try to help the best we can, particularly as now our pressure on the Indian citizens will reduce a bit. Akhilesh, let me answer your question, which is a little more detailed. Look, yesterday, of course, the Quad meeting took place, the Quad summit, virtual. You would have seen the documents that we put out. The one was our press release, of course, and something which is called, I think, a joint call readout, which is a common readout of that. I think that gives you a good sense of what actually happened. From our perspective, while, of course, there's a very serious situation going on in the world, in Ukraine, it's not as though challenges and in other parts of the world have vanished. Okay, and I think in the Indo-Pacific, the challenges there and the agenda that the leaders of these four countries have signed up to, I think that is something which is Indo-Pacific being at the core of the Quad's agenda, is something that they want to push ahead with. And I think the message is very clear that although there is an emergency, a crisis, all four countries are, trying to take forward the agenda they defined when they met in September physically in Washington, September 2021. I think the conversation was very natural. It was a comfortable conversation. As I said, a natural conversation. Obviously, when leaders who have such a good rapport amongst themselves meet, they do tend to discuss topical issues. And of course, as you saw from the readouts, Ukraine was discussed naturally. But let me just emphasize, I think Indo-Pacific remains the core sort of a focus of the Quad's agenda, and you will see that coming in terms of positive activities and initiatives and efforts that all four countries are making, I think. And as I said, each country has given its own readout. I think that's a good sense of what it captures, what each leader said, and each country brings its own perspective and contribution to any such discussion. Okay, I think I'll close on that. Thank you. Oh, sorry, somebody talked about hostage. My apologies. Look, I think this hostage situation has been going around in the media a lot. We issued a statement yesterday. I clarified it again. I don't think I have anything much to say. I have that statement here somewhere. We are not aware of any Indian being held hostage. I mean, unless you have some information that I don't. They are having difficulty getting out because of the security situation in some places, particularly, I would say, Sumy and Kharkiv town. But I haven't heard anybody being held hostage. Now, that I have a very simple answer. You should always ask the person who makes the statements. Why us? I think I'll stop on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate all of you joining for this special briefing on this very important and complicated situation in Ukraine. And as I said, let me end on a positive note. I think large number of people have come out, 20,000 plus. You would appreciate is an effort, but that shouldn't detract us from the fact that significant number of people are stuck in Sumy as well as in Kharkiv, and I want to assure that we will continue with our efforts to bring that out. And as you can see in Pisochin, while it may take a little longer, it is moving, and I think that is a really positive development that we are able to get in transport arrangements at difficult places. And I want to the students to bear with us, and please note that we are with you. Thank you. Good evening.